Kripke gives an extremely clear exposition of what's going on in Wittgenstein. And remember, there are two parts here. There's the negative thing, Wittgenstein trying to blow up ways of thinking about language that he thinks are wrong, and then there's some kind of positive picture. And what I want to do today is just look at the negative part of Kripke's analysis of what's happening. So there's what Kripke calls the skeptical paradox, and start out with that. So here's the skeptical paradox shaping up. I guess we have all added a lot of numbers in our lives, right? You've added numbers, I've added numbers, we have all added numbers. Now, some of us have added pretty big numbers. I mean, I don't wish to boast here, but I've added some extremely large numbers. Well, I bet perhaps you have too. But let's suppose, about however big the numbers you've added, at some point there's some number that's the biggest you've ever added, right? It has to top out somewhere, even if it's something very large. So suppose the number you top out with is 57, right? You've never added anything larger than 57, but there must be some number, so let's just suppose it's 57. Then I'm going to define quos as follows. So plus is just addition. Quos means x quos y. If x and y are both less than 57, and in the past you've never added any number larger than 57. You following me so far? Okay. Then if x and y are both less than 57, then x plus y is just the same thing as x plus y. And if either x or y are equal to or greater than 57, then x plus y is 5. Okay? What is it? Okay. So here are two hypotheses about what's been going on in your past whenever you've added two numbers and used the word plus. One hypothesis is that in the past, when you used the word plus, when you said 3 plus 4 is 7, what you meant was addition. The other hypothesis is that what you really meant in the past when you said plus was quos. That's possible. I mean, what I mean is there's no contradiction in it. You could have meant quos 5 plus, right? I mean, these two hypotheses are, when you were using the cross, the plus sign, you meant plus. When you were using the cross, you meant plus. Suppose you put it in terms of, suppose that what I was doing in the past was, you may be pretty confident that you never heard of quos right up until now, but what you really meant was plus. Then maybe I meant quos when I was using the cross. Okay? So what difference would there be between you and me in that situation? You meant plus and I meant quos. Well, there wouldn't be any difference in the answers that we gave to any particular sums, because all the sums that we did involved numbers less than 57. So the actual, how should I say, adding behavior of you and me was exactly the same. Okay? So that wouldn't be a difference between us. I suppose you say, well, it depends what was going through your head when you used the cross, when you said 6 plus 4 and so on. Well, what you had was going through your head was, hey, I'm adding 6 plus 4. By this cross, I mean addition. Right? But I had exactly that going through my head too. Whenever I was writing 6 cross 4, I was saying to myself, hey, I mean addition. I'm using the cross, and I mean to add. So we had exactly the same stuff going through our minds. We had the same fear and joy, fear that we might not get the answer, joy when we did get it sorted out. We had all that nervous tension and so on going through our minds as we did the adding. So what difference is there between you and me? I meant quos, and you meant plus. So what difference is there between us? Here's Kripke. Was there some past fact about me, what I meant by plus, that determines what I should do now? I mean, suppose that the crunch moment comes, and you say, okay, what do you get if you add 68 and 57? I say, boy, two numbers both equal to or greater than 57. This is the big one. Right? Does he mean plus or quos? Well, since I meant quos, right, what should I write? 5, right? Since you meant plus, what should you write? I think 125, right? But there wasn't any difference between us in the past. If there wasn't any difference between us in the past, then what makes it true that I should be writing 5 and you should be writing 125? We are just the same in everything about our past. So how can what's right for me be different to what's right for you? In fact, this isn't just something about how you know whether someone means plus or quos. It's something about whether it's even right. What does it take to mean one thing rather than another? Well, there's nothing that makes it the case that you or I meant plus rather than quos, because everything would be the same if you meant quos as if you meant plus. Everything would be exactly the same. You'd have given the same answers to the sums. You'd have the same things going through your head. There wouldn't be any difference. So in that case, yep.
It kind of reminds me of this one example when you didn't know like what word was.
Right.
And they'll give like two statements to someone different X, Y, Z.
Very good, yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I'm not quite sure what the difference is in this case.
Right. Okay, that's definitely reasonable. So in the twin F case, what's going through the heads of the people who are using water to stand for H2O is the same as what's going through the heads of the people who are using the word water to stand for X, Y, Z. Right, that's the point. But different things are right for them. Yeah. There are a couple of differences. In the Earth and twin Earth cases, they actually in the past were applying the words to different samples, different stretches of matter. Yeah, so that's one difference. Whereas here, the actual sums that people were doing in the past were just the same between the adder and the quadder. They're applying to the numbers, yeah, rather than to matter, and they're applying it to the same numbers, whereas in the twin Earth case, they were applying it to different stretches of water. Yeah. And the other thing is that in the twin Earth cases, there's something about causation. You can talk about what's causing you to be using the signs, whereas in the case of the numbers, it's not so clear that cause is the right notion. But I don't think that's so important here. Yeah. But you're right about the similarity in that what's going through your mind might be just the same in both cases. Yeah. Yeah.
Why are we causing that in numbers case?
Well, I'm just assuming that numbers don't cause you to do anything.
No, I don't think numbers. I mean cause. I mean, so the numbers don't do it. My elementary school teachers caused me to write the numbers. So they caused me to use the word plus and seven.
Right.
The way I do because they taught me.
Sure.
And then same thing for them.
Right.
And so, but then someone came up with the numbers.
Okay. There was a cause, yeah, but in the water case, it's not just that your teachers cause you to use the word water. They teach you to use the word water in such a way that you're causally responsive to this substance out there. That you will utter the word water when you interact with this substance.
Sure, but I don't know where you when I see those markings there.
Yeah, that's right. But in the case of the word water, it's not just that you utter the word water when you encounter the markings. There's such a thing as encountering the stuff. Here there's no such thing as encountering the stuff. This is not critical. This is really not critical. The critical thing is just the thing that what's going through your head could be the same, whatever you meant. And the examples would be just the same, whatever you meant. Yeah, that's the critical point. This stuff about numbers and causes is interesting, but it's not central. Yeah. Right. Yeah, but suppose I don't need to think about that. What I mean is, I just quad naturally. I'm one of nature's quadders. Do you see what I mean? And I don't actually do this thing. I just naturally, when it comes to 57, I stop doing it. I mean, I stop doing plus thing. I regard plus as a very fancy thing. I say, look, from my point of view, what you guys do is really strange, because all I do is I quad the whole time, right? If you're doing plus, if you're doing this plus thing, then what you have to do is quad up to 57. And then at 57, you stop quadding, and you start adding. Isn't that strange? So that means that when you add 3 plus 4, you have to first of all check whether it's below 57, because then you should, if it was above 57, you have to do the plus thing rather than quadding, the way God meant you to. Whereas I just quad the whole way. I do it the way God intended. What can be plainer than that? You just quad. Below 57, above 57, I'm just quadding the whole time. You guys do something really strange. You see what I mean? Yeah. So then it'll be just the same thing we have going through our heads. Okay. So then you ask, well, consider your own situation now. What makes you think that you are an adder rather than a quadder? Why would you think that, do you have any proof that what you've always meant is addition rather than quaddition? All the sums you did in the past would have been the same if it was quadding. Everything going through your mind would have been the same if it was quadding. There's actually nothing that makes it true that you meant adding rather than quadding. In fact, it's not just that you can't prove that you meant adding rather than quadding. It's that there is nothing that could have happened in the past that would have made it the case that you were doing one thing rather than another. Everything would be just the same, no matter whether you meant one thing rather, or if you meant the other thing. Everything would be exactly the same. So there's no such thing as meaning adding rather than quadding. So there's nothing that makes it the case now that you mean addition rather than quaddition when you use a plus sign. So when you write down 68 plus 57, is the right answer 125 or is it 5? There's no such thing as one rather than the other being the right answer. Wittgenstein thinks that any construal that looks for something in my present mental state to differentiate between my meaning addition or quaddition, or that will show that in the future I should say 125, I should say 125 when asked about 68 plus 57, is a misconstrual and attributes to the ordinary man a notion of meaning that is refuted by skeptical argument. So there's nothing in your current mental state that differentiates between your meaning addition and your meaning quaddition. That's a mistake to think that there's anything there that differentiates the two. So there's no such thing as anyone presently assigning any particular meaning to the plus sign. And in fact, this reasoning is quite general. If it applies to the plus sign, it applies to anything. You could generalize this for any sign. Water, quarter. Red, shred. You see what I mean? You could generate cases like this for anything. But this is really disturbing. As Kripke puts it, Wittgenstein's main problem is that it appears that he has shown that all language, all concept formation is impossible, indeed unintelligible. There can't be such a thing as meaning one thing rather than another by a sign. Okay, that's a skeptical paradox. Don't say you don't learn anything in this class. You just go over that. All language, all concept formation is impossible, indeed unintelligible. Okay. I'm glad to see there aren't any questions about that. Yes, right.
How do they have the same thing with that? Adder and divide?
Okay, what would be different?
What would be different would be that when I say addition, when I learned addition, I learned the concept of addition, but nothing else. Like there's no like conditional saying if greater than 57.
Sure. Right.
It's just addition.
Yep.
So then, if there's just addition, then that's the same thing.
Yeah, but that's like your colleague's question, right? That if you're doing the quad thing, what you're saying is you've got to do this thing of is it greater than 57 or not? That'd be the different thing going through your head. But that's what I meant about being one of nature's quadders. You might naturally be using quad as subject to this rule, but look, someone who uses plus, yeah. What does plus mean? X plus y is x plus y if x and y are less than 57, right? Otherwise, x plus y is x plus y. You see what I mean? X add y, right? Okay. So it's x add y otherwise. So someone who notes that, one of nature's quadders, will say, well, if you're using the plus sign, you won't be having this thing about whether it's less than 57 running through your head. And you say, no, that's not the way it works. I just use plus naturally. Plus is just something I do. That's what you'd say, right? I don't need the stuff about 57. But nature's quadders don't need the stuff about 57 either. They just quad. That's how we define it. We define quad in terms of plus. And when you define it in terms of plus, this thing about 57 shows up. And we say, that's because you're doing something weird at the 57 mark. But they say, no, it's you that does something weird at the 57 mark. That's what I meant about we do it the way God intended. You don't need to think about what God intended. That's just a colourful flourish. Right. Okay? Yep.
Can we really say that they're doing the same numbers though? Like they may like totally get the same numbers?
Yep.
Isn't that different than saying that they're doing the same numbers? Like if you say like 2 plus 3 equals like, or 3 plus 3 equals 6, or
Right.
2 times 3 equals 6.
Right.
I'm not going to be saying that I'm doing the same answer. I may end up with the same number. It's
Right.
I'm doing different work.
Yeah.
Not the same answer.
That's perfectly fair, right? But it doesn't explain what the difference is between us. That supposes that you mean one thing and I mean another. Yeah. And if you've got that, then you're home. I agree. And you're right in that sense. We're giving different answers. But the thing is that the numbers we give as the answers, they're the same. Yeah. Even if the meaning of the answer is different, the numbers we give as answers are the same. Yeah. So then we still don't know what the difference is between us that constitutes you meaning one thing and my meaning another. Yeah. That's the puzzle. What? what makes it the case that you mean addition rather than quaddition? That's the puzzling question. Yeah. Okay. There is one way of addressing this that Kripke discusses at some length, because it's a very natural reaction, I think. You might say, look, in the past, the thing is, in the past, I never, in fact, added numbers greater than 57. And I suppose, but and agreed, it's not something that was running through my head when I was doing the addition sums in the past. But nonetheless, back then, if you had asked me, what do you get if you add 57 and 68, I'd have given, I'd have said 125. It was always true of me, even back in the old days, back before I toiled up to the dizzy heights of adding numbers greater than 57. It was true of me, even in my early days, it was true of me that had I been put to the test, had you asked me, I'd have said 125. Whereas the quadder, had you asked the quadder would have said 5. So even though there was nothing that showed up in what we actually did, it shows up in what we were disposed to do, what we tended to do. So what's going on is that in the past there were your dispositions, what would have happened if they were different between us. Now that's quite appealing because you have endlessly many dispositions to act. So you could say, well, look, what makes it right for me to be saying 125 now is that even back then I would have said 125, and if it had been 68 plus 58, I'd have said 126. If it had been 68 plus 59, I'd have said 127. And so I had lots and lots of dispositions, endlessly many really, to say this stuff. And what I'm doing is I'm just keeping faith now with all those tendencies I had all along. That's what's the difference between the adder and the quadder. The quadder also had lots of dispositions, but 57, these all came to be dispositions to say 5. Now that's not an appeal to the sample of actual cases we had already. And it's not an appeal to what's running through your mind. It's just an appeal to what you would have done if you had been asked. And you say that's what makes it right for me to say 125 now, rather than 5. So that seems like quite an appealing answer. Does that seem like quite an appealing answer? Because it meets the rules. I mean, it meets the constraints that there seem to be so far on a solution. The trouble is, okay, we have all these dispositions, right? So, and you say, well, what makes it right for me to say the answer here is 2? Well, that was my disposition all along. What makes it right for me to say 68 plus 57, that's 125? Well, that was a disposition I had all along. And so on endlessly, right? So keeping faith is just giving the answers I had a tendency to give. The trouble is that you might have a tendency to make mistakes. Or it might be that there are some sums, I mean, maybe this is not true of you guys, but there are some sums that might be just too big for people to do. Right? I mean, this might work pretty well for some relatively small numbers, but suppose you ask, well, suppose you take some really big number, maybe you just couldn't do the thing at all. There would still be a right answer, but not one that you were disposed to give. And the thing is, it's not what answers we're disposed to give that matters, it's what the right answers would be, what the answers are that you ought to give. I mean, suppose you ask, well, I can't even read these numbers. What do you get if you add this number and that number? I mean, you might just seize up. I don't mean you guys, I mean, but someone might. You might just pack up. Or your brain might have a very, your brain might actually be quite sensitive, so that there might just be a weak spot, so that if you choose the numbers right, then maybe if you try to do that sum, you just die. The whole system just freeze. Or if it was very, very long, you might die before you had completed the working out. It might take you, just 120 years to do the sum, by which time you'd be dead, right? So the dispositions aren't going to let you read off what the right answers are. Dispositions, your tendency to give answers, can't be what fix the meaning of the sign. I mean, the thing is, you currently assign a meaning to the plus sign. The meaning you currently assign to the plus sign means there are right answers to all these questions. But how that comes about can't be by way of your dispositions, because your dispositions might be to make mistakes. Yep. Okay. So in fact, it might be that you have a tendency to give wrong answers or no answers in many particular cases, but there's still such a thing as giving the right answer. And how did that happen? How did that come about? I can't help but to think that one among us is doing the hard sum. Okay. And I just finally want to remark that I hope this looks, Kripke puts it in a quite different way to the way I've been putting it, but I hope you can see that it's actually the same kind of problem, just been put in a different way. The way he puts it, I think, is very vivid, but it's the same kind of point that when I was talking about that picture of what makes it the case that we both mean the same thing over time, where you're running through all these cases and I start following you through all these cases, and the picture that what we have in common is the general rule, x plus 1. And I kept saying, well, that drops out because I could go haywire and the rule wouldn't help. All that we have in common is that we apply the word successor to the same cases. But there are only finitely many cases that we actually go through. You can only ever go through finitely many cases. Yeah? But the meaning of the word fixes what the right answer is in infinitely many cases. How did that happen? This general formula couldn't have done it. That general formula only gets its meaning in terms of what goes on in the particular cases. If you want to explain what this x plus 1 means, the only way you can do it is by saying, well, 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3. That's the only way you have of explaining a term in the end, by giving examples. If you want to explain what red means, you've got to give examples. That's the only way you can. When you finish giving definitions, you have to give examples, and then you can only give finitely many. But then how is it happening that the meaning of the word is being fixed for all these infinitely many cases? That's the puzzle. Not by something going through your head, but then what on earth could it be? What on earth could it be? Okay, we'll do reference next time. Okay.